All right, what's going on? This is another episode of the Emerge webinar. This is a webinar that's sponsored by Victory Capital. Victory Capital exists for one reason and one reason only, and that is to connect investors to capital. And so what we do here on the Emerge webinar is we bring investors that are in the trenches, that are buying properties, that's doing deals, that don't mind showing and sharing with others. And so today I am very, very, very excited. I have someone that from my first conversation with this man, I've been very impressed. And so today I have the pleasure of interviewing Jerome Campbell. Jerome Campbell is from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He is an active real estate investor. He trades stocks. He owns other companies. I mean, I don't what all are you in? Because every time I turn around, you are you're doing something. And so I've just always been impressed. And so I thought that it would be great if I could get you on because what this platform is for is to help investors who are new and to also help existing investors in areas that they might be struggling with. And particularly if you're interested in any financing, structuring, anything like that, that's what we hope to bring to you on the Emerge webinar. So today I'm going to introduce Jerome Campbell. And so Jerome, if you can, just kind of introduce yourself and tell us how you got started.
Hey, how is everyone doing? Again, my name is Jerome Campbell, and I got to admit, this is the first time I've ever, done something like this. So I try to keep it as straightforward as possible without rambling and going all over the place. But I've been doing real estate now for like over 17 years. And in that 17-year process, I've learned quite a bit, and I've accomplished a few things as well. And even before the real estate, I guess you could say I've always had an entrepreneur mindset and drive to create and build my own. Even as I was working in corporate America, for the most part, I was a production mechanic, and I worked at Frito-Lay, Alcon pharmaceutical plant, and if some of you guys can recall, even back in the day, there was a company called Tandy Electronics. So as well as in the military. So I've always had a mechanical aptitude on working with equipment. But I realized no matter how much money I earned on a job, and no matter how many hours and days that I put in, I still could never, in other words, there was always a ceiling, and I could never get above that ceiling. So I felt like in order for me to take it to the next level, I was going to have to create my own and build my own. So with that being said, I found real estate as an outlet, and it's been, I got to admit, it's been quite well.
Okay, all right. So I know it's been 17 years ago, but kind of walk me through what prompted you to get into real estate, and if you can you walk us through your first transaction? Do you remember your first transaction?
Yeah. Okay, it's kind of sort of strange, really. It was a book, and I still have it too, by Robert Shinney, The Life of a Real Estate Investor. And what it was, he was an attorney, and a tax attorney at that. And it was an old couple came to his office and wanted him to do their taxes. And he was saying to himself, what could they have? They look like they just come off the farm, so to speak. And he was like, what kind of service can I offer these guys? But what it came down to, when he began to look at what they brought to the table, over the years, they had accumulated over 100 properties, and in real estate, and it blew his mind. And of course, when you think about it, they had over 100 properties, and the cash flow that was coming out of those every month. So basically, he looked at them with judgment. But lo and behold, they was doing a lot better than he was, and he was not. And that is when the light bulb went off with him. He decided this is something I should look into. So when I read his story, I also was like, wow, maybe this is something I should do. So as I read the story and began to try to implement some of the techniques that was in the book, my very first deal, or should I say my first attempt at a deal, it was a gas station, believe it or not. It was a lot, a gas station lot sitting in an intersection of a great location. And it had for sale on it. So what I did was call the real estate agent up and said I would like to buy it. And she asked me, okay, would you come in and we'll put a contract together on it. And of course, when I went in there, I'm using techniques that I read out of the book from Robert Sheney. And so she asked me, was I pre-approved? Did I have credentials? Or how much money did I have? And this and that. My goal, should I make clear, is I just wanted to put the property under contract for a low-ball price. And then I was going to flip it for a higher price, because in the book, Arthur stressed that if you found a Corvette for $2,000 and you know it was worth $10,000, he said, wouldn't it make sense to put it under contract for that $2,000 and then flip it to someone for $8,000 to $10,000? It was so elementary. And I thought, yeah, let's do real estate that way. Of course, we went into the office and tried to do that deal and didn't know exactly what I was talking about. The real estate agent said to me, she said, excuse me, son, have you ever did any real estate transaction at all? I said, no, this is my first one. She said again, what have you been doing? Looking at these late night infomercials? Well, I suggest you go back to school and get your license before you come out here and trying to attempt these things. And I was like, I felt embarrassed, and I was like, yes, ma'am, maybe you're right. But as I was walking out the office, I turned around and I asked her, could I have that contract, to study and look at? So yeah, she gave me the contract. And that's what I did. I took that contract along with kept pursuing and reading and doing different things. I eventually picked it up. And long story short, my first deal was I bought a property using my 401k. And about a year and a half later, I sold it and made about $15,000. But
okay, cool. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's the big thing with this, man, is most of the time when you go out here after you've gotten all excited, you've read a book, or you've been to a conference or something, and then you go out here and you just get your head just beat in. And, and it's like, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go back to a 9 to 5. And so that actually leads me to my next great question for you, man. One of the things that I really admire about you is that you have a great attitude. And it seems like you don't let things get you down. So if you can, explain how you got to that point and how having that attitude has helped you.
Hey, I would tell you, hands down, no question, read books of self-help. Read books that encourage you on being your best person, encourage you of trying to develop good character. Those things will help you and take you a long way. Along with that, I'm a firm believer, though, and I use a lot of different quotes in my head, in my mental, to keep me on course. You know, like if it's to be, it's up to me. You know, things like that. I'll tell myself constantly, you know, if you don't get in the game, you can't play. And if you don't play, how you expect to win? So I have a lot of different quotes there from books that I read. I use them as flags to keep me in the middle of the road, because I'll tell you, and you know, there will be times of discouragement. There'll be times of doubts. There'll be times to where you just want to throw your hands up and give up. But if you give up, what are you going to go back to?
Right.
And you started out at, so you know, that defeats the whole purpose. So yeah, in a nutshell, there's just no giving up, because I know the possibilities and what could be accomplished is in front of me. It's not behind me. So I'm not going to have anything to hold me back and prevent me from continuing to move forward. So yeah. I won't stop.
Good deal. So along those same lines, so you've been a residential real estate investor. So if you don't mind me asking, what was the number of houses that you got up to, and were you primarily a fix and flip investor, or were you a cash flow investor to where you bought and held?
Yeah, well, I guess you could say I evolved. It was a transition. I started out because everyone gets excited about real estate, and they think about you can flip the property and make money, make cash. Wow, man. Go out, buy a property, flip it, wholesale it, put some money in your pocket, and you usually get a check bigger than you get at your job or anything of that nature, more money than you've seen all year. You can pick it up in one paycheck. So I was excited about that, like most people are. I met a young lady. Her name is Kenitra Sample. I know she don't mind me calling her name now. She said to me one time, she said, "Jerome, you sell everything you get." And I was like, "Yeah, okay. What's wrong with that?" She said, "You notice I live over here in this apartment, but I own 10 rental properties." And she said, "My rental properties pay for my lifestyle, my apartment, and things of that nature." And it dawned on me, like, okay, if I had kept those properties as opposed to selling them, I may not have got that instant gratification at the time, but over a period of time, I would have accumulated that same kind of money, but I would have been picking it up on a monthly basis. So to answer your question, I've had over 30 plus properties at one time, and actually was generating $40,000 a month from single family homes.
Wow.
So that was a light bulb, and that just made me realize that I did okay from the buy, sell to where eventually I began to buy and hold.
Okay.
My concept would be I would buy some and still flip those and take that same cash and we use to buy and hold other property. So I did a combination of both until I built up a portfolio of rental properties. And I still do that, even now.
Okay. All right. Good deal. So, so you started out in residential, and actually the way that you and I met is because of your transition to multifamily. So talk to us about your transition and what prompted you to want to transition. I mean, you seem to be doing good. You have $40,000 a month in cash flow, but what prompted you to want to move into the multifamily arena?
Oh man, I got a story for you. There's a guy named David. David came from, he's from the motherland, Africa. I believe it's, I want to say Nigeria. I'm not sure where exactly. But David was working for Chase Bank, and I was working for Alcon Pharmaceutical Plant. But we both was trying to do real estate on the side. During that time, that's how we met. You know, we bought a couple of properties and sold it to one another, single family. However, I had the dreams of doing multifamily. And so I signed up for a real estate course, a multifamily course, and even went to a boot camp. So I had all the knowledge in the world. I even went out and looked at some of these properties, multifamily apartment complexes, but I never pulled the trigger because I still was kind of fuzzy in understanding everything. But the word was out, like David knew I was into this. So one day he came to me and had a property. And he said, Jerome, he said, would you look at this multifamily with me, this apartment complex, what we call it. Would you look at this apartment complex with me and tell me what you think? So I walked out there, we looked at it, and lo and behold, this was the same property that myself and a friend tried to buy a year ago, but they was asking, like 1.6 million for it. And we was trying to get them down to $1 million. And they turned it down. Well, I guess the owner must have got foreclosed on the property, and the bank took it back. And somehow David got in touch with the bank, and the bank offered the property to David for like $700,000. This was a 7-unit apartment complex about 8 years ago. And I was blown away because, again, the guy was trying to sell it to us for 1.6 million. So I said, yeah, dude, you need to get this. This is a great deal. Not only is it a great deal, I would even be willing to invest what you wanted. And but David was still hesitant about it because he gotten word from the police that, hey, man, this property is in a bad neighborhood. And he got other negative information about it from other people. So instead of him jumping forward to buy it, he went back to the bank and he said, only way I'll buy this from you guys is if I can get it for $400,000, which he knew they was going to say no, but he wanted them to say no because he had earnest money tied up, $25,000. So his goal was to get his $25,000 back. But the bank turned around and said, okay, we'll sell it to you for $400,000. So he was forced to buy it. And he bought it at a great deal. Remodeled it, kept it. 13 months later, he sold it for $1.7 million. And he took that $1.7 million and then he went downtown to the auction and he bought another one for $2 million. That was worth about $9 million. I don't want to get into all the numbers, but his transition into multifamily, into where he is today, and considering we started out together, made me realize that, okay, it's time for me to make that transition. And so that's what I did. I put in my mind that my next purchase would be an apartment complex. And it happened.
All right. So that segues us right into your transaction. And I didn't have a front row seat in it, but I knew that this was a transaction that you were pursuing. And so if you can kind of walk us through. Now, this is your first one, right? The one that you just acquired. So
correct.
If you can walk us through where the property is, what was your acquisition strategy, what's your financing strategy, and then what's your exit strategy?
Okay. Well, once I made up my mind that I want to, my next purchase would be an apartment complex, I just sort of put the word out that I'm looking for apartments. And I went to all the different meetups, met people, shook hands, talked to some of the seasoned investors and how they went about doing it. And I used all of that around me to continue to keep me focused and motivated. And I had a friend call me up and say, hey, Jerome, I heard you was looking for an apartment complex, and there is one in Montgomery, Alabama that fell through. an investor couldn't pick it up. And they asked me, was I interested? And I said, sure, I'm interested. And so with that being said, going through the numbers and everything, it was basically it's a 54 unit apartment complex. And when I showed interest, I signed the contract to purchase this property at 1.3 million because it was really had an appraisal of 2 million. So I thought, well, that's 700,000 in equity. So I like the numbers. I can tell you, I went through 4 months of trying to get finance with this deal. And for whatever reason, the lenders could not make it happen. I even went so far as to signing all the documents, and the seller signed the documents. I'm the buyer, signed the document, and the lender approved everything, but then they never funded the deal. That was the most weirdest thing to me. I didn't want to lose the deal, so I just fell back on my understanding of single families. And I've done more than just throw money at a deal. I've been able to create creative financing. So what I realized was when I was at the verge of purchasing the property, they gave us what you call a HUD-1 settlement statement. And I saw the bottom line dollar as to what the seller was supposed to get. And I realized, okay, so I went back to the realtor once the lender had a hard time giving me the deal. I said, why don't we work up something where the owner will owner finance the deal to me? I know that she's about to make X, Y, and Z dollars. I can raise that amount of money and give it to her and take over the mortgage with the bank. So the realtor shot that information over to the seller, and the seller was okay with it because she was still content with getting the amount of money she was supposed to. I just was going to take over the mortgage note. So that's how I got around the financing of trying to get it from an institutional lender. And to this day, I mean, I really got into the deal. I tell you, I ended up purchasing the deal for like $985,000 when, I was supposed to get it for 1.3 and it's worth 2 million. So and when I say purchase, I didn't have to come up with that 985,000. I mean, I came up with a whole lot less than half. And so now I own it, but the value of it is already worth close to 3 million now.
Wow. So is your exit strategy, is it to refinance it in a number of so are you going to upgrade it, and then that's going to increase that value of it, and then are you going to refinance it and get your cash out, or are you going to hold on?
Yeah, absolutely. What I plan on doing now, Lane, is I'm already in the remodeling stage right now. We're upgrading the units, slowly increasing the rents. One of the fine things about this one here too is because it's located around 2 military bases, university, and it's also it's in a great location. A couple of the units that we've already remodeled, we have 2 lieutenant colonels moving in 1st of July. The impression upon them will easily be to recommend the apartment complex for future military. So that was a great move. And like I said, yeah, we're definitely remodeling and upgrading it. And I figure about in the next couple of months, I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to do what you call a cash out refi. We're going to refi it, pay off the underlying mortgage on it, pull out some money, and then we're going to go in and do a major overhaul and value add to it. Figure after that, once I get all the units updated and remodeled, and the cash flow increase even more. The goal is to, in about 2 years, 3 years max, is to sell it outright and double, and try to at least double the value of it today.
Okay, okay, good. So man, so you and I have attended some of these multifamily seminars and conferences and stuff, and so now that you've actually purchased one,
Yeah.
what is this process like to like now, man? And did you go through this phase of, man, I had made this happen now, and so how would you describe your feeling when you first pulled the trigger, when you walked out of the title company after you was like, man, what was next?
It was amazing. I'm gonna tell you, because it's like when I think about where I started from, I met a guy when I also first got into real estate. He was retired, moving to Florida, and he said, man, I never would have thought, after he had been in the business for over 20 years, he said, I never would have thought I would have been able to put myself in a position where I can retire at this age, and then I can go move to Florida on the beach and live like I want now. And I was just brand new at that time. And wow, man. And that was another thing that was also encouraging to me, as some of the things that kept me going and moving forward in it. So I think about that point at that time, and then I look at where I am right here and right now. And I'm like, I'd have made a transition from way back then when I met that guy to where I am now, owning a 7-figure apartment complex that, you know, at one point in time, it was so daunting, I couldn't even imagine it. But now, not only have I been able to bring it into reality, it has opened my mind up, and it keeps me excited. And now it just shows me and let me know that it is nothing out there that you can't accomplish, man. I mean, nothing. Once you put your mind to it, take it one step further just to show you how confident I have become, and not arrogant, but confident. That a guy who wanted to sell me like 6 acres. And instead of me buying the 6 acres, I said, why don't we partner up? Why don't I get this land zone for commercial, and let's see if we can build an apartment complex on it. And he loved that idea, because now he could see that his land will have a structure on it and something that he helped create. So instead of me buying his land, we're trying to collaborate together and build apartments on it. I think this, man, that never would have ever entered my mind that I could even go to that level. And I'm able to make the transition to where I am now. So to answer you, man, I stay excited about this.
Right.
And yeah, I'm always pumped about it now.
Cool. So let me ask you this, man, as we start to wrap up. So what advice would you give to 2 groups of people? The first group is, what would you say to a new investor that hasn't pulled the trigger on a residential or a multifamily? What advice would you give to those 2 groups? A new investor, and then what advice would you give a seasoned investor that's trying to transition to that next level?
I would say, first of all, most of the guys out there who own these multi-million-dollar deals are just like you and me. They're no different. They put their pants legs on one at a time, or they slip their dress over one at a time, however it goes. But they're no different than we are. What you got to do, though, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to want this. You know, like a guy said, first thing you got to do is want to. If you don't want it and you're just curious about it, nah, it's not gonna happen. But if you really want it, you're not gonna take no for an answer. You may get some no's, but you're not gonna accept no your final answer. Is what I'm saying. So I would say for the guy who's in a single family, I mean, I wouldn't know what your goals are, but if your goals are to become financially free, so to speak, and maybe to, at some point in time, create cash flow, I personally would start straight out into multifamily. I wouldn't care how long it take before I got my first one. If it's a five unit, 10 unit, whatever, I would focus my energy on apartment complex, period. And then if I was a seasoned investor who's trying to make that transition, well, you already have an edge. All you have to do is make the commitment and put the focus and the energy on it and not get sidetracked, because that's what did happen to me when I first wanted to do multifamily. I was pretty good at doing single family. And when I got sort of fatigued or lost interest in the multifamily because I thought it was too daunting, it was so much easier to fall back into the single family. And then that took off extra years that I could have already made that jump, which is what happened with me and David. He stayed with it, and of course he went on to own over 2,000 doors. So, but again, for the guys who just doing single family, I mean, okay, do single family, understand it, learn it, and then make that transition. But if it was me starting all over from scratch, I'd just go straight to multifamily. And then again, for the guy who's already doing seasoned single family and want to go to multifamily, hey man, just make up your mind and stay with it. Push forward. It will happen. I know it happened.
Wow, man, that is good stuff. So in this section, as we wrap up, I have something that I call rapid fire. So I'm gonna ask you three questions real quick, and then we're going to start closing it out. So, what books are you reading right now? What are you reading?
Well, the one that I just finished over the weekend, As a Man Thinketh, by James.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a powerful book,
yeah,
with no more than 100 pages. But man, let me tell you something. It plants and let you know where to go.
Wow. All right. Good deal. And then, so if somebody's coming into town to hang out with Jerome Campbell, where are you going to take them? What's your favorite restaurant?
You know, actually, Papa Do's. I love their fish, but since we're up under Corona-19, it's not happening. My particular fish is not there. So there's another tricky fish. I love it, man. It's over there in off of Bryan Irvin Road in Southwest Fort Worth. Good food and good price.
Good deal. Good deal. All right. And then I think you kind of alluded to it earlier, but what would Jerome now, 17 years in, what would Jerome now tell Jerome 17 years ago?
Pertaining to real estate, I would have said get started in multifamily from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm actually, man, I've foreseen everything that's going on right now, even back then. I used to practice and stand up and talk to myself because I knew where I was headed. So,
yeah. That's good stuff, man.
I think I could have made it happen.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So, so since you are in multifamily, so I know that you are always trying to raise capital. So how could someone get in contact with you if they wanted to build a relationship and they might have the capital and you you may have an apartment complex that you need some investors on. So how can somebody get in contact with you?
I could give you. I can give you my phone number as well as my email address, and I answer my phone and I'll respond with my email. So anyone interested in partnering with me in the future or like to sit and talk with me, my phone number is 919-536-9600. 9438.
Right.
Again, 919-536-9438. And my email address basically is my name, Campbell, Campbell Jerome, Jerome @gmail.com.
All right. Good deal. Because I know, I know that. So that's a real quick question, real quick. So are you doing syndications, or are you doing mostly just partnerships?
You know, I'm moving up. My next units have to be 100 units and up. So I'm even looking at one now. Just it's 105 units. I think they want $6 million. So I don't know whether it may be syndication. I'm not really sure at this point in time, but we'll go whichever way feasible and make it happen.
All right, good deal. Well, Jerome, man, I can tell you, I'm going to say it again. Man, I've always, from our very first conversation, I've always been impressed with you. I'm more impressed with how you think, but also you are a man of action. I just want to thank you for taking the time out to speak with the audience today. And I just hope that if someone is interested, that they would give you a call. Again, to kind of wrap this up, this Emerge webinar is sponsored by Victory Capital. And what Victory Capital do is we exist for one reason and one reason only, that is to connect investors to capital. So if you're looking to purchase a residential fix and flip, or if you have several properties that you want to refinance, or if you want to even move into financing a multifamily project, Victory Capital can help you with that as well. And you can contact Victory Capital at www.victory is spelled VIKTORY, victorycapital.com. And so today we have been blessed by Jerome Campbell. I know that I'm gonna have him back on, because I know that he's gonna do something great that I'm gonna have to have him back on again. So again, Jerome, thank you so much. I wish you much success, man. And if there's anything that I can do for you, please don't hesitate to give me a call. All right.
Right. Thank you for inviting me on and allowing me to speak to the audience. And it's been a pleasure.
All right, man. Well, again, thank you so much, and much success. And man, if you can, send me some finished snapshots of that 54 unit. I need it as inspiration. All right.
I sure will. Thanks, Elaine.
Okay. All right. I'll holler at you later, man. All right. So thanks now.
All right now.